Alright, y'all, this is your boy, the voice of reason. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the NCAA opening weekend and the roster cuts. The dreaded Turk comes in the NFL. So, so far, NCAA has been wild. We've seen Wisconsin upset LSU. We've seen Houston upset Oklahoma. And both teams have Heisman frontrunners, being Leonard Fournette for LSU and Baker Mayfield for Oklahoma. I think both guys can say goodbye to their Heisman. I don't think this year is going to be one loss Heisman Trophy winners. I think it's going to be, the guys in the national title picture that are going to have a shot at the Heisman. And I think my pick for the Heisman Trophy is probably going to be Deshaun Watson. But this is the NCAA. That could all change in a minute. Right now, I'm currently watching the Alabama USC game. That's going to be a close game. It looks like both defenses are on fire. Um, yeah, man, the NCAA has been wild today. It's billed as the greatest opening weekend in NCAA history, and you know, I have to say it's living up to the hype so far. It's looking really, really exciting. I also want to say, after watching the Wisconsin LSU game, I did not think that uh, Wisconsin was going to win, but I did know that it was going to be a close game. It's exciting to see guys on both sides of the field playing like it's their last game, which is something that some people would argue is missing in the NFL. I think there is a case for that. I mean, look at in the Super Bowl, Cam Newton, it didn't dive on a ball, and it turned out to be, a touchdown going the other way. And that says a lot about the fact that these kids who are in the NCAA see this as their shot to make it, whereas the guys in the NFL see this as, they've established themselves and they're just trying to build a legacy. And I guess when you're trying to build a legacy versus trying to earn a check, there is a totally different mindset that goes along with that. Um, the other thing about the NCAA is not only do the kids try harder in the NCAA, but the fans surrounding the game are incredibly important. There's such a thing as home field advantage in the NFL, but in college it is astronomical how big home field advantage plays. I mean, you can look at Lambeau Field in Wisconsin where LSU came in, and I think that LSU, not that they were afraid of the crowd, but it definitely played a factor, especially at the end. I don't know what Brandon Harris was doing, the LSU quarterback. I don't know, he just threw it into another stadium or something because the receiver that was near where he threw the ball wasn't very near at all. I think uh, you could have definitely had that one back if you were Brandon Harris. That would have been probably his dream is to have that ball back, but he couldn't. Wisconsin gets the upset victory. As far as the Houston game, I mean that kid Ward Jr. he's a stud, man. He's throwing the ball all over the place. He looks greatly improved from last year, where he was really seemed like a run first quarterback. Now he's definitely able to sling it, and that's gonna help him in you know maybe potentially a Heisman run for him. I mean, if he keeps having games like that, you never know what can happen. Um, TCU is in trouble right now, playing South Dakota 17-7 in the second quarter as of recording. That's going to be an interesting game. The other thing I want to discuss about the NCAA, and I've said this at nauseum already, but there's a lot of neutral field games being played today. There's a lot of games being played that um, don't have a home field and don't have a, away, so to speak. And the problem I have with that, outside of the fact that it's purely a cash grab by the NCAA, is that when you do that, you take away what makes college football special. The fans interacting with the players, putting on a show for the fans. That's what really makes this game special. And you know, the NCAA needs to do a better job of understanding what makes it special and what makes it something that everybody wants to watch on an everyday, every Saturday basis, basically. I don't think that they realize how important the home field is, especially if you're at home watching it on TV. You see all the fans dressed in the paint and, going crazy for their team. You don't really see that when a game is being played in Australia or a game is being played in, I believe there was a game in Ireland this week. And I just don't feel like there's a need for that. It's not necessary to do. Just play the games at the stadiums they're supposed to be played at. Let the fans have a great time, and leave it at that. Don't break the wheel here, guys. It's not broken. Let's not fix it. Um, Other thing I wanted to talk about today was the NFL 53-man roster cuts. Uh, I'm a much bigger NFL fan than NCAA fan. I love football as a whole, though, and I do watch a lot of both. The NFL roster cuts today. Sam Bradford, uh, while not a cut, he was traded today to the Vikings. And since I last podcasted, Teddy Bridgewater of the Vikings, the quarterback, dislocated his knee and tore his ACL in a gruesome injury at practice. And that's something that you don't see a lot of in the NFL, a practice season-ending injury. Not even training camp, because training camp is virtually over at this point. They're not killing the guys anymore. Um, but I just feel like it highlights that having a very solid backup quarterback in the NFL the way that it is now is a necessity, not a luxury. Teams that have a good number two may want to think about holding on to them instead of trading them because, you see guys like Romo get hurt. You got a guy in Dak Prescott who was drafted and who looked great stepping in for him, and that looks great. Um, I feel like if you're a team that's coming close to trying to get a division title or trying to make the playoffs, you almost have to have a solid number two quarterback. So let's get to the cuts now. Uh, Mark Sanchez was cut by the Broncos. He has since, if not already signed, he's going to sign with the Dallas Cowboys to be their backup to make sure that Dak Prescott is the viable option, and he should be given the preseason. And I know it's preseason, but he looked fantastic in the preseason. He should be their solid number one. But Mark Sanchez is definitely going to be a pretty good, number two. He's a pretty good veteran. He not too long ago led the Jets to a playoff run. I mean, it could be a lot worse for them. If they chose to bring in somebody that was out there, that's cool. If they didn't, that's cool. But I think Mark Sanchez was a good choice because A, I don't think Dak Prescott is fearing him coming in and taking his job. And I also think that he's at least a viable number two. So a win there for Dallas, I think. In a kind of surprising move, Justin Forsett was cut. A lot of people in the Ravens organization were saying that he was looking better than he ever has in camp. And it's very surprising that he is cut, given the fact that they really don't have an established running back behind him, and he was 2 years removed from having a fantastic season. He had some nagging injuries in 2015, but I guess they just chose that, it was not his time to stay with the organization. Who knows? They may bring him back at a lesser salary, but kind of surprising that he's been cut. And a guy that actually stayed on his team, who we covered a little bit last week for his stance with the national anthem, is Colin Kaepernick. He's going to start the season as the backup to Blaine Gabbert over in San Francisco. You know, Blaine Gabbert's a pretty good quarterback. He was drafted very highly. I believe it was 2009, I want to say. I could be wrong there. If you're listening to this, tweet me at 86 Voice of Reason. Let me know what year it was. I'm not staring at it right now, but I believe it was 2009. Solid quarterback. Uh, I don't think he's going to be their long term solution, but he can play. He's not a terrible QB. Um, I don't think he's a true number one starter, but I don't believe Colin Kaepernick is one either. Although Colin is a few years removed from having a great season, the way that he's played and with the talent around him at that uh, on that team, it's just not a good fit. He doesn't have Michael Crabtree anymore. He doesn't have Vernon Davis anymore. He doesn't have Frank Gore anymore. So you're not going to see any quarterback have a lot of success there. And personally, being a Colin Kaepernick fan, uh, I want to see him have a chance with a team that's going to have, enough guys around him to make him look as good as he possibly can. I think that's any quarterback's wish is that their talent around them is solid enough to where they don't feel that they have to do everything. And that's a lot of quarterbacks, especially scrambling quarterbacks. They get into the mindset of, well, the guys around me aren't that good, so I've got to take it upon myself to make that extra yard when I'm scrambling. And, that can get guys hurt. So you want to make sure that when you have a good scrambling quarterback, like a Kaepernick, like a Bridgewater, like even Ryan Tannehill, the skill position players and the offensive line have to be good. So that's going to do it for this episode. I'm going to come at you guys one more time in about 5 minutes because I want to discuss the Call of Duty Championships that is taking place today. Actually started yesterday and is going to take place until Sunday, which is their championship day. Um, I've covered esports a little bit. I'm going to cover it again in about 5 minutes. I'll catch you guys then.